And then you go on the date, and then there's a little bit of dialogue, and then on the top right there's like skinship mark, and basically it means that you then like poke somewhere of that boy, and if you poke the if you poke the right place sorry, out of context that just sounds so wrong, but if you poke the right place. Hello everyone, it's Lily, and today I will be talking about Tokimeki Memorial Girls Side 4th Heart. Now this game is an unlocalized game and therefore only available in Japanese. However, shameless plug, I am doing streams every week of this game where I on the spot translate, so please do come along, and it's quite lively, we love chatting, it's great fun. Also, there is one other fellow otome YouTuber who has made a video on this game. She's called Loves of Lauren. I've put her link down below, so please go and check her out. She is really funny. So but anyway, let me start. So first I will kind of go through like the plot, I guess. There isn't really one, but there kind of is. Basically, you're the main character who you can choose the name and the birthday and like the color of your room and all of the weird details. Oh, and blood type, remember that, important. And basically you're the main character who you can choose lots of details of. That starts first year in high school, and it's kind of like you having to survive 3 years of high school. I say survive, it looks like so much more fun when you're doing the game. Like, I wish my high school life was like that. But yeah, it's 3 years of high school. You have lots of stats, and that you have to kind of increase by the end of the 3rd year if you want to go to university or go to do certain job things, which is funny because in your 3rd year you also get to experience the talk to your teacher about what you want to do in the future thing. So yeah, it felt a little bit too realistic there, I must admit. But yeah, so you've got things like intelligence, how fashionable you are, beauty, artisticness, you know, things like that, and they all affect your exam grades, because yes, you have to take exams as well. Don't worry, you don't have to answer the questions, but there is an exam period, and it makes me laugh because whenever the exam period is on, all the little icons that you would usually pick to do whatever that week just becomes exam, and it almost makes you feel like, yep, when you have exams you're not allowed to do anything else. But yeah, and you also have this like fashion thing where you dress up your character, and what makes me laugh about this is that, so there are different styles, like cute style, natural style, vivid style, that sort of thing, and each boy likes a different style. But I think what makes me laugh so much about this game is like you need to get the combinations right, and if you get like an ugly combination, the boy, you know, if you go on a date with them, comments like, oh, are you sure you're not cold in that, or I don't know what you were thinking about your clothes today. And it's like, oh my gosh, I have never experienced guys or friends, if I'm to be completely honest, who care so much about my bloody fashion sense. So I honestly don't know what's going on there, but it's very important where you pick the right clothes. And honestly, I feel broke for most of the 1st year because there are certain seasonal events as well that you kind of have to wear certain clothes for. And they cost a fortune, and it's a nightmare. If you look at my streams, you'll know what I mean. And that's not a plug, that's just me saying, you'll know. But yeah, so you have your skills, you have your weird dress up game, and you also join a club activity and a part-time job if you want to. I would highly recommend it because without a part-time job you're even more broke, and the club activity helps you increase the affection with, you know, friends or the boy that also is part of that club activity, that sort of thing. Because while you survive 3 years of high school by picking like certain subjects in the week and going to certain club activities and doing, you know, part-time jobs and like hating exams and all of this, The kind of prime objective of this game is to find a boy and date them to the extent that they then confess their love to you by the end of those 3 years. And there are multiple different types of love confessions. So there are several endings, such as the true confession ending, the normal confession ending, the four friends confession ending, and one where they didn't confess their love to you, the river. Honestly, there's so many. I don't think I'll be able to 100% complete this game because there are just too many different confession endings. But it is interesting in that, you know, there's also this weird thing called skinship. And yeah, I know it sounds a bit dodgy, doesn't it? It looks a bit weird, but it's this thing, and basically when you go on the date, this is how it works. You phone the boy and you tell them, why don't we go here? And they either say yes or no. If they say no, you obviously load. But anyway, they say yes. And then on the day comes, you pick the clothes that ideally suit the boy that you like. So the one that I went for was Nozomu, who liked the natural style. So I picked natural clothes. And then you go on the date, and then there's a little bit of dialogue, and then on the top right there's like skinship mark, and basically it means that you then like poke somewhere of that boy, and if you poke the right place sorry, out of context, that just sounds so wrong, but if you poke the right place, and I would say your best bet is like the shoulder or like the arm or something. If you poke the right place, then, you know, they're happy and all is good. Well then, let's put it into action. It's good to have a big target practice.
私の頭部を見てみなさい。
Look at my head.
さあ、来たまえ。
Now come here. Just, oh my god. I can so imagine him having a back. I can't. And we get hearts.
それでよろしい。
That's right. Perfect.
エクセレントだ。
It's excellent. And then it goes to the next bit. And then, you know, there's a dialogue option. If you pick the good one, great. If you pick the wrong one, oh dear lord, it's like the end of the world, honestly. I don't know why, but if you pick that one wrong option where you say the wrong thing, and it's usually not even that bad, but if you say that wrong thing, oh my dear lord, they hate you, and they're like, oh, were you okay this whole day? And it's like, oh my gosh, I just picked one wrong dialogue option. Like, but anyway, that's me ranting. So if you pick the right option, they may or may not walk you home, depending on how much they like you. And throughout all of this, there are skinship opportunities where, you know, you do the little poke. You can also rub or press for a long time. It's weird. I always hope no one's watching when I'm playing this game, because if they saw, they'd be like, what? You know? Yeah, so if that all goes well, they may text you saying they had a great time, and yeah, your affection's pretty high. And so you basically want to go through your high school life, but going to different locations with that boy to get certain CGs, because certain CGs are only available during like set seasons. So, you know, during winter you have like the ski place open, so you kind of want to go there to try and get that ski CG, but it has to be like at the right time, which is why I highly recommend getting the guidebook. There are a few things that need correcting, but you can find those things online, so yeah, but I highly recommend it, because otherwise, honestly, getting all those CGs is a nightmare. Like, Nozomu is the only character I've done the route of so far, and I have missed a lot of his CGs, and we're talking like a lot CGs. So yeah, it's quite important. But also, there's another interesting about Tokimeki GS4, and it's that, so in the previous titles you would have things like triangle relationships where you'd end up being sort of quite close with two boys, and they would end up like kind of having a bit of an issue, and I'm not gonna lie, it is quite funny. Like, I love triangle relationships, so I was like, oh, this is exciting. I wouldn't want it in real life, but when it's in a game, it's quite like, oh, you like her type of thing, you know, it's quite funny. In this one, you don't have that. However, you do have this like sort of thing where you're friends with 3 other boys, and it's called like a square relationship or something. So you have 3 boys, and they don't like get angry with each other or anything like that. It's just more you all hang out happily together, but the guys occasionally show that sort of they're clearly talking about the main character, about, you know, how they like her or how they're cute or how she's cute or something, because sometimes the conversation the sort of things that get told are a bit like, oh, okay, so you guys are talking about me in that way. And what's funny is sometimes you end up going on a date with all of them, like hanging out type of thing, but there'll always be that sneaky one that's like, oh, hey, bye, and then they turn to you and go, hey, do you want to like hang out a little longer? Which is really sneaky. It's usually the one, I think, that you've been hanging out the most with that does that. And obviously you want to say yes, because if you decline anyone in this game, their affection decreases. And there is this thing called the Rose Queen. It's basically like a prom queen, to be honest, because in Japan you have these things called cultural festivals. And it's basically where school all works together, and like each class prepares like a store, whether it be like that creates cakes, or whether they're like a cafe, or, you know, you have these different stores, and then you welcome the public into the school, and it's kind of cute, really. I've never been to one, but I would love to go to one. But I think you kind of need to know someone that's part of the school or so. I don't know how it works, but anyway. Every year, if you're in 3rd year, there's a possibility that you become nominated as the Rose Queen. Now, the criteria for this, and I failed this, I utterly failed this in my personal playthrough, but you want to have high everything, like you want to be best in every subject. You want everyone to like you, like you need to make sure you know all the characters and that they're all smiley face or above, because that's kind of how you measure how much they like you. And I think, oh, what else is it? Oh yeah, your fashion level needs to be maxed as well. So you need to be really good with the whole dress up thing. And basically you need to be perfect. And then you get nominated. And to be honest, I think that's harder than anything else. I managed to get the normal confession ending, which I think is quite standard as long as you've, you know, been chasing that one guy. Actually, no, I didn't get the standard. I got the 4 friend ending type thing, where the 2 other boys are like, yeah, you know, the Nozomu's waiting for you at the church, and you're like, okay, and then you go, and it's that sort of confession ending. But I feel like more so than that, it's so hard to be the Rose Queen. It could be my lack of skill, but the issue I feel is that because when you pick certain activities to do within that week, for example, let's say I were to study, my art, my trend knowledge and all of that will go up, but then my beauty will go down, as well as my exercise bar, if you know what I mean. So it's very RNG as well, because it determines how much goes up and how much goes down. And don't get me wrong, you could sort of influence that by looking at your fortune, which is affected by your horoscope. But you look at your fortune and it will show where you're lucky in, and depending on that, you kind of want to influence your choices. But also at the same time, you want to constantly be doing your club activity, because there are certain CGs that you only get if you've been constantly going to that club activity, right? Which is where I screwed up with Nozomu, because Nozomu is a character that's basically a childhood friend, almost a childhood classmate, and he is part of the running club, or I don't know what it's called, I think running club. And so I was only following the fortunes, and so when I had bad exercise luck, I wouldn't really bother with all the club activity of exercise. But what I was supposed to do was to constantly go to this club activity to see the CGs of Nozomu and collect them all. I didn't really do that. and that's why I screwed up, because I was so preoccupied trying to level everything up that I had completely forgotten about the club activity. So my advice to you, if you're playing this, is to make sure to go to those club activities like constantly. Like, you need to be on it if you're kind of picking that character. And maybe if you've got a certain club activity, maybe pick a part-time job that sort of complements that. So what I ended up doing was I ended up going to the petrol station, which is where you meet Daichi, one of the love interests, and but I wanted to go for Nozomu, so I was also doing the running club. But that meant that my sort of athletic exercise bar was ridiculous. It was at 200 or something stupid, when it really doesn't need to be like that. So what I probably should have done is go to the running club activity but work in a bookshop or something that increases your intellect more so than the exercise, if that makes sense, because they do kind of balance each other out. And so that's why I sort of screwed up, because I stopped caring about my exercise, and so I didn't really pick the club activity option very often. And yeah, so bear that in mind for those who are playing this game. I mean, you may already know this. I was a complete noob playing this because I've only played the third one, not the first or second, but yeah, bear that in mind. So yeah, Sasa Nozomu is the character that I managed to finish. So I do still have 7 others, plus I think there's a secret one, which I came across once and fell madly in love with. I've heard the first one that it has sort of rival events or something where your best friend can start going for the guy you like. When I heard this, I was like, are you kidding me? That's so stressful. So I don't know, but I think I might try it out. Apparently 1, 2 and 3 have got English patches, and you can download the emulator on your computer. So I might try that out, because I am curious about this rival thing that I was told. But yeah, so I think I basically went on a complete rant about this game. Maybe I should do one that's a bit more organized later down the line. I don't know. But yeah, so to summarize, what you do is you're starting high school life from, first year of high school, and then there are all these seasonal events that occur that you kind of want to try and spend with the guy that you're going for. There is kind of an underlying cute plot line where the main character's childhood friend actually goes to England when he before primary school, and then he comes back for high school, and it's very clear that throughout the whole time he was away in England, he had been thinking about this girl, the main character. So I'm not gonna lie, I did feel really bad for going for Nozomu when, Kazama, this basically the poster boy, was clearly thinking about her the whole time, and oh, bless him. But there was that underlying story of, it was clearly they were meant to be, but I wanted to go for the big puppy dog this time, so I went for Nozomu, who, I mean, I don't regret it. I thought he was pretty cool. I thought he was a bit dad-like. It made me laugh. It's cute. And, yeah, you also have the friends that support you a lot. They're called Michiru and Hikaru. And they support you in ways like Michiru tells you all about fashion, what fashion guys like, and those particular guys like, well, Hikaru kind of tells you how much they like you, little bits of information regarding them, and they do help you with raising your affection with those characters, I suppose. And so definitely use them. You contact them through the phone on a weekend, and then they tell you stuff, and it is fun. It's fun. It feels like you have friends and a boyfriend, in a fictional world. It is entertaining. One love interest is a teacher, which is a bit odd. I'm not sure how I feel about that, if I'm to be completely honest. There isn't really any kiss scenes or anything, because it's quite pure. It's I say pure, the skinship is comes across as a really dodgy thing, but it is pure in that you don't see any kiss scenes. They clearly don't do anything, because love confession happens at the end of those 3 years. So, when they're dating, they're just kind of just dating. It's not really like a full-on they're together. It's more like they're going out together for fun type of thing. And so yeah, you don't even see a kiss scene really, but for some reason it's still romantic in that they say cute things and the gameplay is so much fun. Like, I was so addicted. And you know what's really funny? It got to the end of this one route, like first route, and I was like, okay, I'm so fed up now, I'm done. I put so much energy and effort into this. And then I spent like, after like a day, I was like, I really feel like playing Tokimeki again. And there are DLCs coming out as well. There are 2 additional characters that you can buy the DLCs of if you like the look of them. And I can't help but wonder, perhaps they're going to do that with all the old characters from like the previous games in the series. So I am really looking forward to see what other characters they're going to make DLCs of, because yeah, I like the concept of that, there being an otome with DLCs. That's really interesting. But anyway, I'm just gonna conclude it with who I would and would not recommend the game to. I would recommend the game to those who adore gameplay, those who just like a little bit of high school romance and experiencing the fun side of high school, because you know, there's no bullying or anything horrible in this high school. It's all happy, smiley and rainbows, so you know, none of that horrible experience that I'm sure many of us have experienced during high school. It's fun for those who like that setting. It's fun if you know, you want something sweet and like kind of pure, and you want to experience it as if you're the main character. However, I would not recommend it to those who are looking for something a bit more mature, those who hate gameplay, because honestly, the amount of management you have to do in this game, and my management skills are like basically level 0. So I'm not gonna lie, I was like, oh god, what do I do? Like, I was struggling. Yeah, and so yeah, I wouldn't recommend it to those who want something more mature, those who don't like gameplay, and those who aren't too fond of like contemporary or modern high school settings, because that is basically what it is. I would give it a 4.5 out of 5 personally, at least based on the one route I've played, because I did enjoy it a lot. The only reason I'm not giving it a 5 is because, I don't know, I would like a bit more. I'm not saying like they're high school people, so I'm not saying like I want more like in a mature set. I just would like more sort of scenes where I can see the main character. I understand that the whole point is that you're the main character, so the CGs are of the guys looking at you, or you know, they're more like your personal view type CGs. But I actually like it more when you can see the main character and it's like a kiss scene, or you know, one of like holding hands. I prefer that over it feeling like you, because I very much play these games as if I'm like the fly on the wall watching what's going on. So but that's why I'm giving it a 4.5 out of 5. But even though that's the case, I honestly, this game is so addicted. I loved it so much. It's so fun, and I do need to continue with the other routes. Especially Nana, who is my absolute favourite out of all of them in terms of looks, in terms of what I can tell he's like from the very little amount of times I've come across him. So yeah, I'm looking forward to his route quite a bit. But anyway, I think I'll leave it there. Remember to join one of my streams. I stream every week. I'm going to start making it regular on a Friday as opposed to any other day. But please do join and chat, and it will be so, I mean, you can lurk if you want, but I'm just saying I love interacting with people. Yes, check out Loves of Lauren. Her YouTube channel is really fun. I highly recommend it. She does all sorts of different Let's Plays, including josei muke games such as Obey Me and Twisted Wonderland as well, which are 2 sort of mobile games that are quite fun. But she does like other things as well, and it cracks me up. So do check her out. As always, thank you very much for watching. Remember to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the content, and hopefully I'll see you in another one of my videos, and hopefully maybe my streams. Bye!